What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, did the Atlanta Falcons give the Minnesota Vikings a gift without even knowing? We're going to talk about Kirk Cousins, them drafting Michael Penix over J.J. McCarthy. We'll dive into it all on today's show. But before we do so, shout out to producer Dylan. This is awesome. Kirk walked so J.J. could run. Love that. But if you guys are fired up about J.J. McCarthy being the Vikings quarterback, go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. I cannot wait for that first Monday Night Football game in Chicago, his hometown versus the Bears. It's going to be awesome. But if you guys are fired up, he's the QB, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, so the Falcons this past offseason, they picked up two quarterbacks. One, the guy they drafted at number 8, Michael Penix Jr., and if you guys remember, this was a shocking pick. Nobody thought Atlanta was going to take a quarterback because that free agency period, they tossed Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $100 million guaranteed deal. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what's the gift that the Vikings got from the Atlanta Falcons? I think it was them just taking Kirk Cousins off our hands and allowing the Vikings go find that franchise quarterback. Because if the Atlanta Falcons didn't give Kirk Cousins a long-term commitment, he would have been back with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, maybe another team would have emerged as a suitor. They give him a 3-4 year deal, but Kirk wanted that long-term contract. And really, the only team we heard, very, very interested in Kirk was Atlanta. But if they didn't offer him that massive deal, I think there's a chance that Kirk would have been back in Minnesota. And why I say that is because of what Kirk said on season 2 of the Quarterback Show, saying this: I had no reason to leave Minnesota with how much we loved it there. If both teams are going to be drafting a quarterback high, but I've also learned in 12 years in this league that you're not entitled to anything. It's all about being able to earn your spot and prove yourself. It became clear that we were going to be there year to year, and that's what we didn't want, talking about Minnesota. Then he said this: at that point, we said, all right, we need to look elsewhere, and if it's our only option, we will be back. Well, we looked around, and we found there's an opportunity that would be a longer commitment. Would you be interested in giving us that longer commitment? Kirk said to the Vikings. They said, no, we're good with our offer. I said, okay, you made my decision really easy. Now, this is not a shocker, but the Vikings only offered Kirk Cousins a 1 or 2 year deal. That's pretty obvious, with all the reports we have had coming out. Now, I don't know how much money was on this deal. Maybe it was like a 1 for 25, for example, fully guaranteed. And I remember I was saying that on the channel. I was like, hey, Kirk's a very good quarterback, but we also got to look towards the future here. And you offer Kirk a 1 or 2 year deal, you still draft a quarterback, have that guy learn from Kirk Cousins, and then we go from there. But there's no doubt it was time to move on from Kirk for the Vikes. Kirk was a fantastic quarterback for Minnesota. I have no negative memories from his time with the Minnesota Vikings. He was fantastic with this offense. He was great with Kevin O'Connell. He was just a guy that I think he really raised the floor for this football team. Now, did he raise the ceiling? Probably not, but the Vikings need to look in a different direction. So I thought it was a perfect time to move on from a guy who put up some great numbers in Minnesota. Like 171 touchdowns to 55 interceptions. That is fantastic stuff. Still averaging 264.4 yards per game, a pretty damn good completion percentage at almost 68%. But I guess what I was thinking about is, what if Atlanta didn't offer Kirk that long-term commitment of a 4-year contract? And what if Kirk returned on a 1-year deal? Like, would the Vikings have won 14 games? Would he have just replicated what Sam Darnold did? Because also, if you guys remember, in that 2023 season, Kirk really started to get going before his torn Achilles. I think Darnold maybe raised the ceiling for this Vikings team just because he is a more aggressive quarterback. He was taking a lot more chances, and I think that does fit in a Kevin O'Connell offense more than Kirk Cousins, who is more reserved. But let's just play this hypothetical. Kirk goes out there, he balls out with the Vikings this last season. Maybe it's similar to Sam Darnold. Where would he be playing this year? Really think about that. If the Vikings kept Kirk Cousins on, let's just say it was a 2-year deal, but it was like a team option on the second year, and Kirk went and he absolutely balled out from Minnesota, would the Vikings want to bring him back for this season? I actually think Kirk would be the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback right now. Because, they obviously went out and got Aaron Rodgers, but I think they would have been more interested in Kirk, considering Kirk would be coming off a good year, bounce back from that torn Achilles. I just really wonder, like, it's kind of like one of those butterfly door situations where it's like, what if Atlanta didn't offer him that deal? He returned to Minnesota. He had a massive season. Who knows what would have happened? But let me ask you guys this. How do you remember the Kirk Cousins era in Minnesota? How do you feel about it? You guys just let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I got all positive thoughts. Even though the playoff success wasn't there, still very happy with Kirk's time here in Minnesota. But there's also no doubt in my mind that it was time to move on. But you guys let me know. How do you remember the Kirk Cousins era? Now we'll talk about J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix here in a second. But I got to tell you guys about a new product we have here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports, and that is Factor Form. Now, start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/VikingsChat to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. Now, guys, I have tried green supplements in the past, and I swore I was never going to try them again. It wasn't really my thing, but until I tried Factor Form's Daily Greens, it completely changed how I viewed drinking green supplements. And most of us dread drinking greens, but Factor Form changed the game. You actually crave your greens, and as the sister brand to Factor Meals, who we tell you guys about all the time, Factor Form was designed to work hand in hand with your meals, making better nutrition effortless. Daily Greens is a greens powder by Factor Form you look forward to drinking. Just one scoop delivers 100% of your daily nutrients, filling nutrient gaps, supporting whole body health, and helping you feel your best. With a refreshing, citrusy, clean, and smooth taste that's actually enjoyable to drink, mix a single serve pack in water, and you're good to go. And my favorite part about Daily Greens by Factor Form, in a blind taste test, they ranked #1 in taste, texture, and aroma, beating out the biggest names in the industry. So start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/VikingsChat to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's factor75.com/VikingsChat for 40% off plus free shipping. Hit that link in the comments section and description of today's show, factor75.com/VikingsChat. So I think the Vikes actually got two gifts from the Atlanta Falcons because, again, that played out. Kirk went to the Falcons on a massive 4-year deal. And the other gift the Falcons gave the Minnesota Vikings was they decided to draft Michael Penix Jr. over J.J. McCarthy. Now, one thought I had on the Falcons drafting Michael Penix over J.J. Let's play this hypothetical. What if Atlanta drafted J.J. McCarthy over Michael Penix? And then they left the Vikings on the board at pick 11 with two quarterbacks still there, Michael Penix and Bo Nix. I am so curious to just find out who Kevin O'Connell would have preferred. Would he have preferred the big arm QB in Michael Penix or the more game manager type of quarterback in Bo Nix? If I had to give my best guess, he would have probably preferred Michael Penix over Bo Nix, but also with these smart offensive minds in the league, sometimes they just want a quarterback who can just run the offense at a decent enough level, and they're not really too concerned about the upside at the end of the day. But I am very curious. Let's just say the Falcons ended up drafting McCarthy over Penix. Who would have the Vikings picked, Penix or Bo Nix? And also, you got to think about how different the Vikings would have looked if Atlanta didn't make these moves. Like, really think about that. Like, even let's just play the hypothetical. What if JJ and Michael Penix were both on the board at pick 11? Who would they have picked? I would assume it would be JJ since they did a lot of work on McCarthy. They're huge fans of his, and they were talking about moving up in the top 5 of the NFL draft to just go ensure themselves that they would go and be able to land him. But, man, I'll tell you what, if the Falcons didn't make these moves, like, we're talking about this Vikings team completely differently. Again, it's a butterfly door thing. Like, one move can just spark a bunch of different moves in the NFL. But, on the whole JJ or Michael Penix thing, JJ's a perfect fit for the Vikings. He speaks like a younger Kevin O'Connell, especially at the press conference, just like his cadence. He talks about the process, just all that. Like, he reminds me of like a young KOC. And also, like, JJ, I feel like he just fits the Midwest, grew up in the Midwest. I just think he fits Minnesota a lot more than Michael Penix would have. Now, I think Michael Penix, if he would have went to the Vikes and he had Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson, KOC, and now this year, this newly improved offensive line, like, he probably would have been successful too. But I think JJ is a perfect fit with Minnesota, perfect fit with Kevin O'Connell. But maybe you guys disagree. And I don't blame you at all. I don't think you're ludicrous to say, I would rather have Michael Penix than J.J. McCarthy. But let's say both these guys were on the board when the Vikings were drafting. Who would you pick? Give me a J.J. for J.J. McCarthy, or give me an MPJ for Michael Penix Jr. Now, also, if you guys got any more questions, comments, or hot takes around the Minnesota Vikings, hit me up on Twitter. That's a handle right there, @PatSieps. Give me a follow over there, and I'll give you guys a follow right on back. But I appreciate all of you guys for watching today's show. We'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.